foremost, what role are you getting coached on today?
I think it's probably best to go with mid. That's my most played role.
Okay.
I mean, I am like kind of across the board, mostly like 1, 2, 3, but probably like 40 to 50% of my games are as mid.
Okay.
So makes the most sense to focus on that.
Okay. What in your best description, what is a successful session for you today?
Um, Good question. I'd say, I mean, I think helping me identify things I can work on during my game. I think I know a few areas. I'm sure you can give me a lot of pointers. I can tell you a bit about my playstyle and what I think is the problem causer for me mainly.
Okay, what do you think that
Um,
is?
I think it's a lot of like inefficiencies that happen in the awkward stages of the games. Sometimes can sometimes I just like don't know exactly what to do with myself at certain points in the game. And as mid, like you're always thinking about looking at the map and thinking about rotating. And then you kind of have to balance that with like when do I play around my timings, which I think I'm pretty good with. But I think sometimes I just feel like I'm like going back and forth. And if you don't have like a successful rotation, then you're like, oh, like I just missed two waves at mid and things like that, or just like when to hit the jungle, when to leave the lane. I think it's that. And also I would say I'm not like a particularly nasty laner. Like when I started playing mid, I think it suits me because I like to play tempo and I don't sometimes I find safe lane boring because you're kind of just like racking up money and sometimes offline for a bit and that can happen with certain mid characters. But I would say in the beginning I was not so good at laning but was like pretty good mid to late game and good at rotations, but wasn't like ever like always trying to win my matchup and push the hero out of the lane immediately. Now I'd say I come out of the lane usually with solid farm, so I'm able to like start myself off with a good trajectory. But I don't always focus on being the aggressor. I feel like sometimes I notice like, oh, I probably should have like hit him a few times, ticked him down a bit. Maybe I could have gone on him there, but I don't. I kind of just sometimes just try and like focus on stability and making sure like I get off to a good start because if you die a couple times or just get shit on farming wise in the beginning of the game, it's hard to rotate and be impactful
Hmm.
like soon after.
Okay. I have a general idea of what you're talking about here. I seems like a pretty common issue around 4K, 5K for people to, you mentioned earlier struggling with like kind of the lull stages of the game where, there's not something clear to do and the for me 4 to 5K players are often very refined with what they're good at, but they're not the best at adjusting from game to game to weird scenarios. That's not, of course, not every 4 to 5K player is built the same, but that's generally what I'll often see. So I have an idea. Do you have a replay in mind for me today?
I don't know. What do you think is better to focus on? Like, I actually just played a game that's probably a good one. I had a tough. I played OD.
Okay.
Um, had a shitty lane versus Tinker. Didn't die at all or anything, but was just really behind on farm. Ended up having a really strong game, but I had like a pudge carry, and I don't think we pushed tempo enough. And by the end of the game, Tinker and LS were kind of just a problem for us, and we kind of just collapsed.
Hmm.
Maybe that's a good one. And then the three games before that, I won. Um, they were kind of pretty one-sided, not like insanely one-sided, but games I did very well in, but I'm sure I could have done a lot of things better in. So I guess we could go over some of that
I mean,
stuff.
usually in an hour we'll have time for maybe 1.5 games. So would you like to
Okay,
start with maybe one of the good games for like 20 minutes and then go to the OD game, or would you like to reverse it?
good question. Okay, well, I have two Void Spirit wins, an Ember win, and then the OD loss that just happened. Let's see. Maybe we can look at the first Void Spirit game. It wasn't like it was a 52-minute game, so it wasn't like a bloodbath. But we won. I did pretty well. I think I
Sure. Go ahead and send me the ID for
fucked up.
that one, and we'll load it up.
Yes. I DM do it. And on Void Spirit too, which I'd say these days is probably my best mid guy. He's like who I went from Ancient to Divine with mostly. Historically, I'd say like Clinks is my best and statistically, but Clinks is like probably stronger as a safe now. But Void Spirit, I like historically, I've always had farming issues with that I think stem from some of these problems I spoke about. Maybe just like not blowing up waves enough, or like, not using my mana enough, not hitting the jungle enough, or like pulling waves together and stuff like that. So even when I would do well on Void Spirit, I feel like I'd come out with like 550 GPM, and that's just like not great. But I would like not die a lot, so I wouldn't be like giving them gold either. So I was like fairly stable.
Yeah, Void Spirit doesn't have the best farming abilities, so it's makes sense you'd struggle a bit to find farm on him. So just a quick note in mid lane. I'm curious what you think about this creep and this creep dying at the same time.
I mean, ideally, you could try and get E to knock them both down, but easier said than done. I think the radius would be big enough.
Do you have any ideas other than that that could work for this?
I mean, if I had to choose one, I guess I'd go range since he's not guarding it and gonna
No, so
snipe
okay.
me out.
So this is for me. Sometimes people make mistakes that they're aware of, but so that's why I'm asking you the question. I'm just finding out your awareness. When you have two creeps dying at the same time away from each other, you need to click the Mirana from right here, move this melee creep over here.
Ah, okay.
You see what I mean?
That's yeah. Yep. Yeah, makes sense.
So that I just wanted to check if you like had an idea and just didn't know, like didn't think to use it there, or if I had to, or if I wanted to teach you the mechanics. So creep aggro is very important in the mid lane. A lot of times where the creeps are has a
I
significant
think I made
impact.
a huge mistake versus this guy. I didn't really. Yeah, I remember now. I
What was the
dove
huge
top.
mistake?
You'll
Oh,
see
okay.
in a second.
Okay.
No, yeah. I like didn't commit to diving him and then dove, and then I got chased around, and it was a whole thing.
Do you ever aggro this creep here and pull it up onto your way onto your hill?
Yeah, I usually would. I also would say I'm not like the sweatiest mouse work guy because I have a bit of carpal tunnel, so I'm like palm gripping.
Hmm.
So sometimes I'm a bit clunky. You'll see with like my camera work and stuff like that. I should have totally done that.
Okay.
Yeah, here it is.
I see.
See,
Yeah. He almost died.
I like waited like 0.1 seconds too late,
Hmm.
and then yes, this happened.
So what's interesting is I see this scenario and I would want to kill these range creeps before he comes back.
He gets back. Yeah,
So I would have walked over here, attacked both of these, and E'd them. But instead, you end up using E when you're like under tower, like a lot of duress.
yeah,
And it's going to get really hard to get these range creeps without taking a shit ton of damage, which you end up getting bullied.
exactly. And then I just have to back off because I'm too low.
There's definitely room for growth on your laning phase.
For sure. Yeah.
A lot of it's this
Like I've
aggro.
gotten to a point
Go ahead.
where I mostly come out even on my like Dota plus net worth goal, but I definitely like notice I do things wrong while I'm doing it. I'm just like, oh shit, I should have done something else.
How often do you look at your like net Dota 2 net Dota plus net worth goal?
I mean,
And
it's just like glued to the top left, so I kind of like to use it as a benchmark in terms of like if I'm tracking decently well. Obviously, it's not like the golden rule, I'd say, but
okay.
Otherwise, it's kind of hard for me to calculate like what my trajectory should be in like a solid game.
Hmm. When you say what your trajectory should be, what do you mean by that?
Like if I'm like on track to like, get items when I should be getting them and stuff like that.
What pardon these are questions I need to ask, so hopefully I'm not annoying you.
No,
What
you're
do you
not.
mean by who determines what this should by the time you should be getting them? Like what determines this?
I mean, I guess I don't know, like statistically, if you're having a solid game and you should be earning X amount of GPM during certain phases of the game, and then that will get you to, like a quick Ags on Void Spirit or a quick Manta if I know they're gonna build like an Orchid or something, or
Hmm.
or a Spirit Vessel. I think I want this game.
Hmm.
And then be able to like let's say like I get to mid game, I have like a couple items already, and then I can kind of start running at them. But if I'm behind and I'm like playing catch up, I can't necessarily like run around and dominate for my team. And
Hmm.
then, stuff like that.
Yeah, so the way that I coach um is that I find that this is a problem I run into in real life as well. I find it's a problem that the majority of people I talk to run into real life as well. And the way that I try to coach is that if something you're assessing yourself on has more than like one, maybe two contributing factors, I think it's a really poor thing to assess yourself on because the actionable takeaway from it is really vague. So, like, how many different mechanics, how many different actions, how many different decisions contribute to your net worth at 10 minutes?
I mean, majority of that is going to be in the lane. So I don't know, you're probably going to be in the lane for like 6 to 8 minutes. So
Well, what
just
I'm
how
saying
many?
is in the first 10 minutes of a Dota game, you probably click your mouse 1,000 times, maybe more.
Yeah,
You probably make 100 to 200 micro decisions. You press 40 spells. So, what I'm trying to say is, I think judging your net worth at any given moment in the game is a really poor metric, in my opinion, because it has so
too many
many
factors.
factors.
Yeah.
So, like, my goal what I try to help students when they're walking away from my coaching sessions is I try to redirect them towards things that are very specific so that they can be like, watch their game and say, did I miss any creeps because I didn't aggro properly? Was the lane ever on their hill because I didn't aggro properly? These are the things where those are for me better assessments because there's only one thing that I can do that prevents those from happening. And so if they happen, that means I need to work on that mechanic. So a lot of Dota players I've coached, especially between like 4 to 6K, they will know the majority of the mechanics that I'm talking to them about, but they'll be inconsistent about them.
Yeah.
And the majority of the time, the reason why, in my opinion, that happens is because most of the people that come to me are focused on generalized timings. And so they never sat down and said, for the next 25 games, I'm going to make sure that I aggro creeps onto my hill. I'm going to make sure that the lane equilibrium is more likely to be on my hill. Every single action I take is going to be to try to get the lane equilibrium on my hill. Right. And then
Yeah, totally.
And so what ends up happening is then that no longer slips through the cracks because you spent so many games focusing on that. And naturally, your net worth at 10 minutes will go up by 100 or 200, right? Because it's like a really small mechanic in the game. But that's how I try to teach people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. It's hard to just like you can't fix everything at once. You have to focus on a couple like core concepts and just micro, on those.
Yeah, so I can understand that giving yourself a gauge for success is nice. And to some
It's
degree,
more
it's
general. I do try and do these micro things. Sometimes I kind of just like forget and go on autopilot,
hmm.
but from a macro level, I am like, oh, okay, like I should be pulling creeps back more. It's melee versus ranged, or like I have certain matchup that I need to factor in, and I can't do this and that, but I can do this. Things like that.
Hmm. I got you. rewinding here.
I rotated, got a kill, and took their XP, right? Yeah.
So the taking their XP thing's like a really good rotation. So how do you feel about the mid lane when you make this kind of rotation?
Yeah, I know. I remember thinking, damn, now I have no TP and mid's just sitting there.
Okay.
And I kind of was like ousting him before, and I just gave him like a couple waves.
So how often do you consider like the resource battle between you and the enemy mid laner?
I consider a lot, and I am pretty good at like spamming clarities and using my mana. And
But what
making
does like
sure.
the resource battle mean to you in terms of the macro decisions of the game?
What you mean, like I'm getting this guy to buy a lot of tangos type of thing?
No, so when I say macro resources, the best way I can describe it, because it's more of a feels thing, it's not exact numbers, is like I'm out trading this guy. I'm ahead of him in like sustain slash like bottle charges. I have like
Yes.
control of the mid lane sort of gauging. It's more theoretical, but most players, like you kind of just said, yes, most players have a good feel for what this is when I bring it up.
Yeah, definitely. And I know like sometimes I'll like miss a rune or their support rotates and takes mine, and it'll go from like me slightly winning the lane to losing the lane because I have just used up all my bottle charges and I'm at like a third to a half health, and like their techies like comes and takes my water rune, and now he's got a water rune and I don't. So I know like I do think about that stuff for sure.
Okay. So, in regards to that stuff, how do you like how does your bottom rotation affect this? The one you
Well,
just made.
I've used the TP. Did I miss the 8-minute rune?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, yeah. So there's that. Um, and then
So
also you're just spending time walking back while he's sitting gaining GPM.
so what I the analogy I use here is you going for that rune is like you going out for a 10-minute run and him sitting in his office chair.
Yeah, it's like opportunity cost.
So what I'm trying to say, maybe like a 10-minute run's a bad example because maybe you could go for another 10-minute run afterwards. But what I'm trying to say is that the last thing we want to do after we do a full-on workout is say, "Hey, I want to race." Like you don't say that to somebody, right? You don't go for like an hour workout and then say, "Hey, you want to race?" Like you're fucking dead and he's fresh. He's just sitting there fresh. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
true.
So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that analogy is what I would say for you rotating again.
Yeah, you're saying now it's time to sit and control.
Yeah, now it's time to like just play the mid lane, get your resources back. Like for me, I might like what I might do is clear this wave quickly. I might like astral
With the
step this
jungle.
this jungle camp,
Yeah.
clear it with this, use my next astral step on the mid wave, walk back to
And come
base,
back
clear
full,
this
yeah.
camp, go back to base and come back full for the 10-minute rune.
Yeah,
Like
see, I think I could do that better, like utilizing just like a reset and like efficient reset like that. Like you said, like you're always thinking about like when's the next wave going to come? How long does it take me to clear these two camps? Can I get back to the next wave and then make my way back towards the base, refill my mana, and then I guess TP back out and take the next mid wave?
yeah. So like I really like the first rotation, but when people over rotate, it's the second rotation. That's the problem. Because
Yeah, no, that didn't feel great.
even if this second rotation works, say you get a kill, now what?
Yeah, exactly. I'm just kind of stuck over there. I got no mana, no TP.
10-minute runes going to Mirana. Your mid tower already took some damage because you made that first
Yeah,
rotation. So you're basically you're trying to drive a car on an empty fuel tank right now. Like that's what's happening here.
yeah,
So like that's why, effectively the resetting for me, it's like you're gonna make a trip to the gas station. You're gonna go clear a wave, you're gonna go clear a jungle camp, get your neutral item, go back to base, get full mana, in time for the 10-minute rune. The only way you'd make another rotation off of this first one at 7 minutes is if you got the rune. That's like if you get like a rune that gives you more momentum, then sure. But that's why I asked you about how you feel about the resource gauge, because what happened there with the first one, great rotation. I'm not even considering rotating on the second one. I just know I'm out
yeah.
of the game. You know what I mean? Like I'm just out of the game until I reset, which is fine.
Sometimes I definitely do give into Oh, that was bad. Sometimes I definitely do give into the pressure of like people spamming in the chat like mid rotate and shit like that. I
Hmm.
actually feel like when I used to play Clinks when I was a really low MMR and he was like the old school Clinks, I was actually very disciplined about kind of being a little greedy sometimes and making sure I got my orchid before I ran around the map like a maniac because I felt like if the rotations didn't pan out, I was kind of just missing that early orchid time. But if I got that early orchid time, I could just, fly around and like farm heroes pretty much, especially in lower MMR. Yeah, that wasn't great too.
I mean, this is like you diving and getting gone on by 4 heroes that surprised you. So like these
Yeah,
type of decisions don't mind. I don't mind these decisions. Your team still got the tower, got a trade kill. Like it's not for me. Those are more niche decisions that I wouldn't see significantly affect you over the course of many games. But making that second rotation will cripple you in every game you do it. So that
for
like I
sure.
I focus more on that stuff. Um, you know, easier said than done, but I just tell people if you really do care about gaining MMR, the number one, I mean, if you care about if you literally just want to have a better experience in the game of Dota 2, I tell people ask yourself this question. What percentage of your mistakes are your mistakes? Meaning that
Sure.
you thought it was the correct play and it ended up being incorrect. So oftentimes, I think the worst experience people get in Dota is when they make other people's mistakes. They did things that other people told them to do that they would have
Yeah,
done for no
100%.
other reason than people telling them.
Yeah,
And that's just a
and that
question worth
definitely
asking
is
yourself. Sorry, go ahead.
that definitely like comes to the forefront a lot when you're playing mid
Yeah,
because you're always
absolutely.
like trying to help people, but you also need to help yourself. I think I've gotten better at that, but it's sometimes I definitely find it hard to have that discipline.
It's a tough no, it's tough. And for me, it's not black and white, right? It's not like you either have the discipline or you don't. It's how often do you succumb to it, right? So for me, I've had to spend a lot of fucking games asking myself how often do I make mistakes that are not my own. Today, for instance, I made mistakes that are quote unquote not my own in the sense that I was playing Muerta carry. I missed like 3 crucial dead shots in the laning stage that missed kills. And I was literally like, fuck, we're like losing this game because I'm missing dead shots. I'm playing the lane perfectly except for these fucking dead shots, and then everything's wasted. And so when I say I made mistakes that aren't my own, like I was purely getting in my own head. I wasn't proceeding to like make conceptual errors. I was just demoralized. And so for me, that doesn't happen very much anymore. That used to happen a lot in the past. So for me, today I was like, damn, I don't get demoralized very often anymore. And then I was just honest with myself and say, Brian, you slept 6 hours last night. Like you didn't get very good sleep. So
Yeah,
that's
100%.
just usually it's like I didn't eat, I didn't get good sleep or whatever. But I just encourage someone like yourself when you're talking with what you said is that if that happens to you, I think the worst thing we can do is just shrug it off and say, happen again. It's like
Yeah, I used to do that a ton.
yeah, I encourage people to really be curious. Why did you do it? Are you a people pleaser? Were you nervous? Did you feel pressured? Were you afraid they were going to break their items? Like what is the exact reason that you did it? And then like that's a tough exercise, but I found it's incredibly worth it because it's the only way to figure out how to stop. That's like my just food for thought for you. It's more it's
No,
more
that's
theoretical.
that's a good point because I do find myself trying to be a people pleaser, and also I don't know, as you know, Dota can be pretty toxic, and I
Yeah,
feel
of
like
course.
especially when you're mid, you can get a lot of the heat.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
sometimes it is a combination of people pleaser, and I don't want this guy to like tilt and go AFK and build Midas and jungle.
Mm,
Um,
I
but
feel that.
that can definitely make me make decisions that I don't even feel like are good, and then I do it. I'm just like, why did I do that? And then I get mad at myself. So it's like
Absolutely,
self
man.
perpetuating.
No, that's the life of a people pleaser for sure. Yeah, it takes one to know one, and I am one. So, I like to call myself a recovering people pleaser because I have been actively like getting better at it for the last like year or two now. But Oddly enough, and I told people in chat actually that I have a pretty personal video that's coming out on Dr. K's channel next week. I did this interview like 2 or 3 months ago, and in the interview, it's me literally talking about, but how do I like I'm not saying this explicitly, but I literally said, but how do I control the perceptions of other people? That like I didn't say that explicitly, but that's effectively what I was asking him. And it's like that's like the number one thing that people pleasers get wrong is that we act in a way that we have learned growing up that we think we can affect the way people behave and the perception they have of us, and we just can't. So like that's something where in my journey I've had to acknowledge like, yeah, I just can't fucking control that. And the most important thing is how often am I doing it? And man, that fucking habit dies hard, dude. That habit dies hard. But
Totally.
yeah, just wanted to share that. I think it's interesting because I understand.
No, agree, especially using that mindset in Dota because it's full of some of the most stubborn people of all time.
Yeah,
A lot of people
it's
are set in their ways, so it's like I think they're gonna like this, and then it doesn't work out, and they actually might like it even less.
yeah. I mean, for you, if I'm just giving a recommendation, it's to ask yourself, am I doing it because I chose to or because I think they'll like it? That's actually for me literally one of the questions I ask myself. And you'll once you really draw attention to how often you do it because you hope the other person likes it, you just realize how miserable you're making yourself. At least that's what I've done. At least.
No, that's a good
But
point.
so back to the game. I mean, I love the mindset stuff, and I think it's very helpful. But quickly back to any final thoughts on that? I don't want to just like jar it, but any final thoughts on that?
No, I mean I don't mind the side chat about the mindsets. I actually find that your mindset videos tend to be my favorite because I do often think like there's just like a few core questions you can continue asking yourself, and you just if you keep asking yourself them throughout the game and focus on those, it usually those little deltas add up to be pretty big, but sometimes I forget to ask myself those questions and just go autopilot.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna give you some check-in questions based on your response just now. And these last two questions are much more the how often questions. These are my own words, but if there's a way to word those that resonate more with you, I encourage you to make your own questions. So I said, how often do I make my own mistakes? And then in parentheses, things I didn't know were incorrect, rather than what my teammates told me to do that ended up that I knew were incorrect. And then how often am I trying to make plays that change the perspective of my teammates? I think when a lot of us ask ourselves those questions, we'll get pretty startling answers if we draw attention to it. We know we do it, but we don't see how often we do it. After I drew attention to it, I'm like, holy shit, it's like half my decisions. That's nuts. Or like it's 80% of my mistakes are other people's mistakes. Well, what's the point of me learning anything if I'm just going to adjust my play to whatever this guy wants me to do? What's the point? Yeah, any questions about that?
No, I think that's a good list of like mindset questions to consider.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's I appreciate what you said about the mindset stuff. I think it matters infinitely because no matter no matter how much I teach you, if you're doing things that you think your teammates will like, you're not applying any of the knowledge I told you. So, like, I think it's
Yeah.
ultra important. But it's not something we can fix here. Obviously, but we can definitely steer you in the right direction. And it sounds like you have a pretty good head on your shoulders, but you're just like me, where you're struggling a bit with the people pleasing of the pressure people put on with the harsh words they say and stuff during Dota games.
Yeah, definitely. It's very mental, so
Yeah,
it's
very.
important.
So I'm wondering, when you're making these plays, how often do you think about the other lanes? When I say these plays, I'm saying like 4 or 5 of your teammates are in the same area.
I mean, yeah, as I'm gearing up to make a play like this, I'm definitely considering other lanes while I'm doing it, maybe not as much as I should.
Okay.
Like I
So,
definitely
go
don't
ahead.
love seeing everyone just stacked it like what someone should be taking space in many cases. In this, I don't remember exactly what we were doing, but I'd say I consider it, but maybe not as much as I should while we're doing something like this.
So the idea for me is that sometime in all of this, one of you needs to TP top and stop
Yeah.
this low skillery, right? Somebody needs to do it. Because there's fucking like 7 creeps that just killed a tower. I think it was like 12 creeps before the tower died. But
Yeah,
so
exactly.
what I see in these games is just like, I always ask myself, how long is it taking the person I'm watching to just fucking leave? We knew you were supposed to, like, somebody on your team was supposed to leave like a minute ago. Like, if we look at this situation, we see like all these creeps. What this means here is that the play here needs to be fast and decisive. So what's the play? Okay, you guys are invading 21-minute Wisdom Shrine. That's cool. Like, that's a meaningful thing to do. It's okay to neglect the lane for this amount of time in order to take a fight. The 21-minute Wisdom Shrine, you're here. You guys get a kill. You're, like, looking for more. Shit happens. And I'd just be like, we just got a kill on DK. I'm half. I'm TPing top.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just get out of here. But then we end up with this, like, long lingering that, for me, is what the problem is. And so my only thing about this is that if you're TPing away from your team, the most important thing is to communicate it when you know it's going to affect them. But we have to do it. Otherwise, we just get in a lot of trouble here. I think if you're talking about struggling with farm, that's definitely, the first thing I've seen this game. The second thing, actually, the over-rotating was the other. That really played a role in your farm, I think.
Yeah. Well, I also think after she got a certain amount of points in whatever Starfall or whatever it's called, that shit hurts. So
It does.
Like, I gotta get out of here. Otherwise, I'm just like taking damage and not actually winning the trades anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you astral step enough for farm. So
yeah, I definitely don't.
So
Sometimes I'm afraid to use it because I like to have at least one for escape if I'm like in a lane. I probably should have astral E'd and then bounced.
how often have you asked yourself this question? When I walk up to the wave, how long do I have to farm it?
I do ask that quite a bit.
Okay, because when I see this map state, I would be like, I have 2 seconds.
Gotta get in and out. Yeah.
So I would astral step away. That's how I would farm this. I would save my W because a glimpse, right? So I would this and astral step upwards because I just saw them right here. Right?
Yep.
So, for instance,
I think I was just kind of getting cocky.
This is a perfect example where I would highly recommend, for instance, you spend 50 fucking games. I say 50 fucking games because that's a lot of games, but you spend 50 games where you write on a sticky pad, when I walk up to the wave, how long do I have to farm it? And so then every single wave you walk up to, you ask yourself the question, how long do I have? You check the mini map, you're like, 2 seconds, get the fuck out. Okay, they're all showing bottom. Okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I definitely am considering when I walk, especially at this point. I think I actually, oh no, okay, I did not live there. I LOL'd myself. No, when I walk up to a lane that far, sometimes I'm like, how long do I have? Should I be here at all? Like, if it feels risky, if I'm, actually playing properly, I'll be like, I'm not going to farm this, but sometimes I could be a little greedy.
What I'm trying to say is, I believe every 4K player knows what I'm talking about here, but if I see you die like that, you're not asking yourself the question 100% of the time.
Yeah, no, you're totally right.
And that's why I talk about spending 50 games where your sole purpose is to play the game, asking yourself that question, because then eventually you'll ask yourself that question in your fucking sleep because you're Pavloved. You've walked up to a creep wave and you ask the question.
If I did it there, I ended up dominating them pretty hard in this game. If I didn't die there, I think I would have snowballed even harder.
Yeah, and it's just an unnecessary death based on how much you know about Dota 2. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, like I played offensively well in this game, but I remember thinking, damn, I've been sloppy today.
Yeah, and I mean the whole idea about this is that I've in the last year or two, I remember we are going to go to the other game to make sure we get the other loss as well. But I unless you want to specifically watch a play in this one, but before we do that, I had a talk with Quinn. This was like 2 or 3 years ago, where he talked about that people focus too much on their skill ceiling. So when I talked to you there, you immediately jumped to your skill ceiling. You told me what your skill ceiling is. You're like, yeah, I know to check where people are. I'll do this, I'll do that. That's your skill ceiling because that's what you're capable of. You see what I mean?
Right. Yeah,
So,
yeah, but you're not talking about like the average
no, but what he said is what we need to draw attention to is your skill floor.
floor.
You've
Exactly.
got you've got 4 hours of sleep. You haven't eaten lunch. What do you do? How well do you play this game? And that's the stuff that he said he focused on for like the majority of his like later stages of his pro career where he was becoming more successful. And that kind of put me on this long road of what does it mean to train my skill floor? You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, in terms of, I understand what he's saying. It totally makes sense. But how do I do that? And for me, it's, I have to autopilot it. I have to autopilot this decision because that's the mode I'm in when I'm on 4 hours of sleep and I haven't eaten, right? My brain's just going to function. It's like, meaning it's going to
Yeah.
move me forward, but it's not going to make any crucial decisions. So then I spent a lot of time being like, okay, basically there's like this whole thing of like subconsciously incompetent, subconsciously competent, or sorry, so it's subconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent, consciously competent, subconsciously competent. Like, so
Yeah.
you go from not knowing to knowing I don't know this to being able to think about it and do it and then just do it, right? Like that's the step there. So I think for someone like you that I've now, I mean, this is a limited sample size, but I also would give this advice to a lot of Dota players, is that I think I would encourage you to just kind of check in with yourself and ask what parts of my game are subconsciously competent and how many things are there that I'm consciously competent about that I fail to do like half the time or 25% of the time. And that's your ticket in my opinion because based on talking to you, you think a lot about the game, so I don't have to teach you how to think, but I want to draw attention to how often you know the thing and you don't do it, and in my opinion, this is how you fix it.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'll just put consider I don't know a better word than contemplation about things you are consciously competent on that you would need to focus on in order to make them subconsciously competent. And basically, I'll just put in parentheses skill floor. It feels like you understood the skill floor thing, so that can
Definitely.
that
Yeah.
can all be summed up in
It'll
skill
bring a
floor.
lot more consistency, which
The thing is
will.
right now the way I look at it is everything that's in your conscious competence, you only have space for like one or two of these at a time. So then there's these random moments in the game where two or three of them overlap coincidentally and you forget one.
Mhm.
Like that's like my best like oversimplification of what happens. So what I've realized is you can only really have one or two things max, usually one consciously competent things that are going to function properly. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah,
at any
definitely.
given moment in the game.
Can't do everything at once. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, spend 50 games. Every time you walk up to a creep wave, you Pavlov yourself. And so all the things you already know how to do, you'll also not show on a creep wave for too long. That's just something you'll check every time and you'll get a good sense of it.
Yep.
I need to take my own advice here, by the way. But I already do it a lot,
Yeah.
but I need to do it more. Easier said than done. Was there a specific play you'd like to watch in this game, or are you okay to jump to the OD replay?
I mean, I guess you could do like a quick scan through and tell me if I made any like glaring
Sure.
mistakes.
I think your most glaring mistakes are the creep waves you decide to farm.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely.
So, like, for me, when I see this play, when they're all respawning, everything I do goes backwards. So I would clear this wave here, and then I'm out. I never turn around back towards the opponent here, because they're all respawning, right?
Yeah.
So this move
and this game has a quick, like stunning, like a quick lockdown and burst situation. So I definitely fucked that up a bunch of times this game. That's why I died a lot.
The way I see this situation is you are walking back into towards their base as they respawn. You don't see anybody, and you're showing on a creep wave for 7 seconds. And you cannot tell me that you think about this. You clearly, like, I believe you that you do think about it sometimes, and I believe you that you know what I'm talking about. But if we, like, zoom out for a second, this is pretty egregious, right? They all just respawn,
Yeah,
none of them are showing, and you're just chilling with 2 astral steps.
Agreed. No, I remember thinking this was like a somewhat brainless game for me.
Yeah. And this is the stuff we need you to do when you're brainless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's why I'm like, yeah, man, I think you know this stuff enough to do it when you're brainless.
Exactly.
Okay. And then we just get the comeback. I respect trying to go high ground against Dusa, and I'm just wondering in these situations how long it's going to take you to just TB to a side lane. Okay. Better than last. Oh, you didn't see the glimpse. That sucks. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That's like another level of thinking, knowing like the only thing that cancels me here is glimpse, and I need to be ready to W the second I TB.
I was like, my camera work wasn't strong enough there.
Yeah,
I was focused on the other lane. I also wasn't sure what to buy. I ended up going with Scotty because I wanted like a little bit of damage, range slow, beef up a little.
I haven't played too much Void Spirit myself, so in terms of like exactly what feels the best for Void Spirit, but I do feel like I'd be leaning towards either like a heavy stat item like Scotty or something like Octarine Core or maybe even like a Shiva's I'd consider with the heroes I have. If we don't have another one, do we have one? Yeah, with the heroes you have, I'd consider Shiva's.
I definitely considered Shiva's.
Yeah.
But I went with Scotty.
Yeah, I think Scotty's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, Scotty's a really good item, especially when the enemy is a ranged carry. And they also have DK and Murano. DK turns into range, so. I guess we're just waiting for Roche here. Okay, we take Roche. So here's what would need to happen in my eyes. You take Roche, you have Aegis, you say, hey team, I'm going to push top and meet you over here. Be careful. And the issue I have with this is that this is just sitting here. Not pushed.
No, I ended up just going back and forth between mid and bot and trying to keep them pushed until we had like the right moment. I was using my Q with Shard.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is you definitely overstay with your teammates way too much. And it might be a people-pleasing issue. It might be... It could be a lot of different things, but it's definitely a noticeable problem.
Yeah.
Nice. So, like, here, I would need you to go walk through top wave, Astral through it, Astral the next one, and then meet your team here when Deuces respawns like 30 seconds.
Yeah, you're probably right. I was just like rushing to get there as fast as possible, so I was just like swiping up towards.
Yeah, I mean, I might do it a bit too much, but I've just found that it's like way more powerful unless we have to kill these buildings right this second. Which in this
I
case
did
you
end up
didn't.
forcing a buyback with that dive. And I had
Yeah, what I'm
to.
saying is like I would do it with 30 seconds on Dusa because he doesn't want to buy back, and
Yeah, yeah,
and
true.
then if he buys back, it's like really good for us, and we just back. But
Yeah.
it's like I'm trying to avoid this 4v4 where this lane's like out here not farmed. It's like, yeah, it's pushing in, which is nice, but yeah, my major thing is you don't clear side lanes enough and reset. I think the whole resetting thing that I talked about at 8 minutes applies to the rest of your game as well.
It definitely does, yeah.
Huge focus on resetting side lanes.
That's what I meant by like I have sometimes struggle finding like balance between like what needs to be done at a macro level and what I should be doing like right now.
I'm wondering, do you feel like what I've told you has helped you in some way there, or is it kind of
Yeah,
just told you
definitely.
what you already knew?
No, I think it's good to bring attention to it. I think you've made a lot of good points in terms of, when you should be on the sidelines, when you should be pushing your lane and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, because for me, it's like it definitely in line with what you said earlier. I just want to make sure that you feel like, at least roughly right now, that you would have some actionable takeaway from what we've discussed so far, and you feel
I
like you
think
have
so,
that.
but I think of course because they're not like purely mechanical based, it's sometimes hard to implement that, and it's just like things you have to keep thinking about. It might take longer to implement, but they're definitely good things to focus on thinking about.
So it sounds like you watch my mindset videos and stuff. I mean, if you haven't gotten the idea already, I think the proper coaching method is not to teach people what to do, but to teach them what to ask themselves, because telling you what to do solves this one. It's basically give a man a fish, teach a man to fish, It's like
100%. Yeah.
so for me, I don't have an exact question for you, but I would ask you to consider for yourself, what's a question you can write on a sticky note that you would ask yourself when your team's grouped up that would get you to stop staying with them for so long? Like, we know you want to move away from them, but what's a good question for you to check in on? Do you have any immediate gut feelings? Because it's not always an immediate answer.
I think it's like two things. I think it's like what else should be happening right now on the map, and when I'm like making a rotation or something, like should I definitely be doing this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I wrote them down for you. I think that. So the thing about questions is I would ask them differently, but that's not the emphasis. The emphasis is what resonates with you, what is going to get you to stop thinking this way. And so if those questions work for you, it's like I can see how they would help. And that makes sense. So like your own words. My point about all of this is I refine my questions over time a lot. The most important thing about a question is I know what problem I'm trying to solve with it. So the problem you're trying to solve is that you stay around your teammates too much and you ignore other lanes and you don't reset your farm. So what happens is you ask those questions to yourself. Sometimes the questions are really helpful and sometimes they don't cover all scenarios, and then you tweak the question. But as long as we're in touch with what the problem is, then you can fix the question. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's easier for me to start general. Those are definitely pretty general questions, but also what you're saying makes sense in
It's
terms of
great. No, I'm saying it's
bringing
great to
them in.
start general. I'm saying what you're doing is good. I'm just
Okay,
making
yeah.
sure that the communication between you and I is that I would anticipate, if you're doing this the way that I'm envisioning, that this is version 1 of the question, you'll land on like version 14.
Yeah, no,
Like
that makes sense.
that's what I was trying to say, but I think your questions are a good starting point. So,
Okay.
and there is no like right or wrong question, but like I think I see your I'm like I could see how those questions would help. So,
Yeah.
good
Okay,
place
good.
to start. And I think it's better that you come up with your first like general question yourself, because then next time you run into this problem, you'll be able to start the process on your own. which is the goal of the
Yeah.
session. So I think that's good that you have your own questions. I'm cool to move on from this game and get you into the other
Yeah,
OD. Make sure we spend about
definitely.
15 minutes on that.
OD, it wasn't my finest work.
Yeah.
Definitely, I felt myself making. I was pretty tired this morning when I played, but I was like, I want to give BSJ fresh content.
Ah, I love content.
It was like 2 hours ago or 3 hours ago. Oh, sorry. Let me get you the
Yeah, I was
ID.
about to say, I thought you already knew, but yeah.
No, I don't know why I thought it would work like that. It's
How often do you and your brother play together?
a lot.
Yeah, I figured.
Sometimes more than I'd like. I give him a lot. Sometimes I'm pretty harsh on him because he's like, I'm like, oh, you're supposed to be immortal, and I know like he's like the bottom of immortal, and they're not gods. They all make plenty of mistakes, but I think I saw him say during his session with you, like he's not playing his best heroes. He's often like, it's nighttime. He's like fucking around. I'm like, dude, this is my main. Can we not? Or like he'll be like, I want to play mid, and he's genuinely pretty ass at mid. And I'm like, why am I not playing my best position and you're playing your worst? Like, what are we doing here? But yeah, we play a lot. It's a good thing.
Nice. Yeah, I remember him saying that he's like slightly too high to play with you in a party. I mean, my
I lost like 300 MMR recently. I had like the worst losing streak ever, like
mm,
a few weeks ago. So now I've like stabilized since then. And I'm like slowly climbing back up. I was like a
mm,
game away from Divine 3, and now I've been like teetering. Like I dropped below like one game below Divine 1. So then I couldn't like technically play with him.
mm,
But I don't
gotcha.
know. Sometimes the mixed lobbies are weird. I actually find that I enjoy playing in his higher lobbies more than a lower lobby because people have like better habits and understanding. It's easier to play correctly, I guess, in quotes.
I feel
This
you.
lane I really struggled. This lane I didn't like die or anything, but I wasn't last hitting well. He kept blinding me. Um it was annoying. But I think I made a couple good rotations and kind of just used the space he gave me for a bit to catch up and ended up doing well. And then we just fell apart late game. Pudge carry didn't really pan out
I'm
well.
curious why you bought boots first out of all items.
Yeah, I also questioned that decision. I think it's because I was trying to like get in and out.
Mm,
Because I would go in, he would zap me, and then I don't know. Also, the March was crushing me. I wanted to like get out of there quick.
I see.
But a lot of times I buy Robe of Intelligence first because I find that without Q, I don't know. I like to like increase my base damage. Also like buffs the Q um damage because you have more mana.
Yeah, so for me, it's just like this is the only time I would ever go this item is if I can avoid their damage, and you can't avoid Tinker Laser.
Yeah. I don't know if I really loved that decision for
Yeah,
myself,
like I
but
think I would only go
typically
this against heroes like
online,
Monkey King and stuff.
yeah, exactly. Like someone's running you, like a Huskar is like running you down or something.
Yeah, Huskard and you're cutting waves or something. Um, so I see that you
Yeah,
like kind of thought about it with like the March and stuff, but like for me, it's interesting because it's funny. You play a lot of the heroes I don't play at all. Like I don't like playing OD, but like for me, what I would imagine OD would do is build something that gives him a bit of sustain here. Like I would consider like a Ring of Health casually, something like that, or maybe even like a casual veil or something. Whatever. Like just something that gives you regen in this lane. Like that's how I would have approached it if I'm not just gonna go straight like Treads Witchblade. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, yeah.
I'm either going like the standard items or like the only adjustment I would make is more regen. So for me, seeing mid laners go boots is an adjustment. Like most mid laners don't go boots before like wand, null talisman.
Yeah, I know. I normally would not do that. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
it's
know
just
if it ended up being the right move, but it was an adjustment for sure.
yeah, so that's why for me it's I'm just mentioning I'm not saying I would go Veil because I don't like I don't specifically play OD that might just grief his game to do
I just
that.
On OD, I feel like other heroes, I'd make adjustments like that. On OD, I usually try and stick to the start of Tread's Witchblade because I feel like he just like farms a lot better. You can go like crush supports in the side lanes. He hits really hard early, stuff like that. But
Mm.
like my like second, third, and fourth item on OD tend to be very variable. Like this game, I rushed Ags because I was playing LC.
Mm.
So I find that like if I don't get Ags early enough on LC, it ends up biting me in the ass.
Yeah, I mean these are good moves.
Yeah, so I played after the lane pretty well. And I spent a lot of time catching up. I always play around my ult with OD. I feel like unless it's like a clear tower rotation, he doesn't actually like rotate super well unless you compare Astral with someone. So I'll usually try and like be like a tad greedy and get my Witchblade as fast as possible because I feel like I can pop off after that, and I'll just play around my ult timing, which is like every 2 minutes.
Mm.
Yeah, like there I saw, I was like, okay, that's over. I'm not touching that. And then I think I started taking tower a bit, but he came. Yeah, it's hard to push on him, but I think I actually pushed him pretty well considering he's Tinker. Yeah, this one I came late, so I think I was like, I'll just push with them for a bit. Then I died. But I had just bought my Witchblade, so it wasn't horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You said you were tired in this game. Like for me, this is just like from what I understand about how much you know about the game. This is just Pepega fucking deaths. Like you have a lot of these deaths. Like we literally just saw Legion walk here, and you're
Yeah,
by
no, that
yourself,
was
and then you walk
that was not
forward,
great.
right? Like there's nothing to really teach you here, other than
Just don't
like,
do it.
other than like, um, I can only, and as a coach, I can draw attention to how often you make mistakes in terms of how long you stay at creep waves and the direction in which you walk from creep waves. So there's like two mistakes here.
Yeah, I
Meaning
walked that.
like
Not good.
if you walk up here, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I know what I was
so
doing.
I'm drawing attention to which direction am I gonna go? This is decided when I enter the creep wave. So
Yeah, like I should have popped right back up.
so my point is, um, all these questions I'm giving you that are like pretty often, meaning like how often do you walk up to a creep wave? That's a lot in a game of Dota 2. Those are like one question that's your sole focus for X amount of games. And that's, in my opinion, the only way to meaningfully improve this. You've already got the knowledge. There's nothing else you're going to do other than this, in my opinion. Um, and so it
Yeah, I
just,
don't know why I walked that way.
you walk that way because you're not asking yourself this question. I'll just tell you that.
Indeed.
It's why you're not asking yourself the question you are not asking yourself a question that will access the information you already know.
Exactly. Yeah,
Like,
that's my like bad autopilot mode.
yes, so that's why the questions in autopilot, the skill floor that Quinn talks about is so important. One thing I've noticed about the dojo experience that I've had but trying to build this community is that a big portion of what I'm doing is having to teach people how to build habits, because in the meantime, I'm learning how to better build habits. Because as a kid, okay, I was talking about, I was like venting about this with my girlfriend the other day. It's like, why was there never a class in school about how to properly build habits? Like, why am I learning about
Like the
fucking all these subjects? Why didn't I just choose one or two subjects that I wanted to study and then get all this fucking meaningful shit? And instead, I'm learning how, like, shit I'll never use again in my life. And I was venting about that because I'm realizing as like a community, it's like there's a lot of people like yourself that are good at thinking. You guys have a lot of knowledge. You are able to explain to me your thoughts, and you were, in my opinion, never trained to establish habits properly. And Neither was I.
Yeah.
Like,
And like, then how does that happen in one?
yeah, it's like, when are we supposed to learn this shit? So I'm
Yeah.
giving you like my however much I can explain in an hour about, habits. Um, but if you, obviously you're here asking for my advice, it's like, that's, I think, the most important thing for you is to consider how you want to start establishing habits. And for me, it's about Pavloving myself to ask myself questions. That's how I've established habits. In Dota specifically, it applies in life too, but it's a little bit different sometimes. Um, Let me know if you have any questions.
No, I mean I agree with that. I think
Yeah.
establishing the habits and asking questions are the best way to improve because you can't just be like general about it.
I mean, you're a
You also
hero
have to I don't know.
specialist. You've got some cool moves in the game. You said your late game execution's pretty good. I noticed that in the other game. It's like, none of the stuff is, I'm like, man, if he just clicked some buttons better, he'd be winning. It's like,
Yeah,
man, if he just
I think
didn't walk into the Legion after a creep wave.
yeah,
Continue.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I think a big differentiator between me and my brother, who's above me in MMR, but also has been playing for much longer. I think I'm very good at decision making. Like, I don't think mechanics are why I excel. I think it's like, obviously there are times where I have moments where like I shouldn't do that and stuff like that. But from like a macro level, I'm pretty good at mid, I think, because I know like when to go in and when not to go in and like when to push the tempo and when not. Like, so I have like good like game sense and usually positioning besides like staying too long sometimes and like just being brainless. So I think that's definitely my strength. But like it's like a matter of like cleaning up the habits, cleaning up the bad habits, and focusing on like repeatedly asking those questions. Because there have been times in the past where I've like watched your video and came out with it with like a okay, like I should be like thinking about this concept while I play all the time, and I've done it and it's worked. But then I'll just like forget to do it for another thing and like not
Yep.
be like so focused, and then it's just
Absolutely.
like okay, now I've like gotten like I remember like for mid especially it was like okay, I'm not doing well in the lane all like as much as I should. Even when I have like a favorable matchup, like okay, I should focus on like dragging the creeps to the ranger, or like when not to do it, and like when to like tap, like what's like the flow, like I should be thinking about this, and like that helped me a lot, like stabilize my lane game. I wouldn't say like I'm a lane dominator with OD. It happens when I just played Ember and I killed the Quap 3 times in a row. That was great, but that guy was just really bad, honestly.
Mm. Okay, so I'm listening. So I'm just I'm getting the chance to like put my thoughts out here. This is stuff that I enjoy talking about. So I already mentioned it earlier, but I'm typing it out for you now, and it's
Okay.
good for me. But what you said earlier about, I learned this thing, I know it's good, I go focus on it, and then I move on to something else, and I forget it. So just to break it down, based on what we've already been saying, and I just draw attention to it, is I'm going to show the process written down just for the people at home. It's, you start something subconsciously incompetent, meaning you're incompetent about it and you don't even know it. The second part is, I'm consciously incompetent. I've learned that I don't know this. So that's you watching my YouTube video. Then you go into the game and you practice it and you get better at it. That's consciously competent. You're like, I worked on this. And the problem is that 99% of us think that's it. That's where we go. We become consciously competent and we're like, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. And so what I'm trying to draw attention to is, that's your trigger for moving on. You now need to rewire your trigger to be, I don't even have to, I could fucking do this in my sleep, bro. Like, that needs to
Yeah.
be your trigger to move on to something else. So it's interesting because I have like a weekly accountability journal that I just started this year. And I basically, one thing I was lacking a bit of discipline on ever since the stress of me moving into a new house and stuff was to wake up at the same time every day. And so I've been waking up at the same time every day for the last like 10 days. And in my head, I almost tricked myself into thinking, okay, I've been waking up at the same time every day for 10 days. I'm ready to move on. But it's like, but then I'm like, Brian, how hard is this for you? And it's like, I still have to push myself out of bed in the morning. Like, I still have to like really push myself, consciously do it. There was a period of my life where my body was waking itself up at 8 a.m. Like, it was just waking itself up at 8 a.m. That's when I'm allowed to move on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so like that's for the stuff I'm teaching you and all the stuff I'm trying to teach everybody is like these are things I'm not only learning recently, but I'm also still in the process of refining, right? So I'm just drawing attention to, whenever you're learning something, if you draw attention to these stages and you're like you'll see how often you stop at the consciously competent phase. And then that's why you cycle through remembering things. And the key thing here is our brain wants to be efficient. It wants to be like, yeah, I learned this, I'm done. I can go move on to other things. But this efficiency brain stuff effectively backfires on us because we move on earlier than we theoretically need to before we really register the lesson. And then 3 months later, we're no longer using that information. And it's like, well, that sucks. Then you end up learning the same lesson again. It's great for my YouTube videos because then you go watch it again, but not great for your guys' learning. Any thoughts or questions about that?
No, I think that's like a pretty accurate assessment. Like you need to just keep doing these things until you realize you're doing them and you don't even have to think about it anymore, and it's like deeply ingrained.
Yeah.
Until that stage has arrived, like you should really be consciously focused on it.
Yeah. So all of the things I'm giving you today, meaning I think I've given you, if I counted, like 6 or 7 questions, they're all things that should take you 3 times longer than you think they should.
Yeah.
Does that make
sense? Does everything.
Yeah. And if you already know that, then they take 3 times longer than the 3 times longer that you think. You know what I'm saying? Triple that again. But that's what I've learned, that there's no such thing as going too slow. I'd rather err on the side of too slow and like refine from there. But the second I go the other way, it fucks me really hard. But in this moment, I would ask you the question, because this is a question I would be wanting you to ask yourself at any time that there's a bunch of heroes grouped up, is what's your condition for entering the fight?
I mean, I guess because it's an LS, if we have enough lockdown to get
I'm looking at 10 heroes in the game of Dota 2. What spells need to be casted? What heroes need to go first? What hero do you follow up? Who on your team goes first? Who on their team goes first?
He needs to be silenced. I need to put some damage into him, and then I can burst him with an ult.
Okay, if you go in, I'm trying to do this without giving you the answer. If you go in before this happens, this person is gonna blink and kill you.
Global, you're saying?
I'm saying that if you don't see Legion Commander, if you show yourself at all, that guy is gonna blink duel you. So when I asked what's 100%. Your condition for entering the fight, you see him on the map. Legion Commander. Like, that's the answer. So like this, bad. Right? Yeah, no, all of this is bad, right? Like, it's just like, I don't want to astral that guy. If I'm astraling that guy, I'm blinking behind my team. Right? Like, I'm blinking back into my team.
Backwards.
It's just like, the way I look at this is that if you were asking yourself the question, what's my condition for entering the fight? If your condition is not met, there's a caveat to this, because there's a high level to here. There's only one other option if your condition is not met. Do you know what it is?
I guess, like, are we globaling before we go in? Because that would, I mean, he wouldn't be able to
That's not
jump
wrong,
on me.
but I've got a cooler answer. I'm going to see if, because we're going a little over time, I'm just going to see. Twitch chat, do you know what the alternative is to him seeing the Legion
I guess
show?
if I had Ags, I don't know. It still
Yeah,
didn't
if
feel
you get
very
Ags,
honest
it
to
could
me.
change. If you get Ags, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in this exact moment, does anybody know the alternative? I'm giving them 30 seconds, and then I'm going to give up. I'm really hoping.
Are you talking about on my team or just in the game? Like, do I
This is
see
a
them in harder
general
lanes? Like, is he
answer.
solo?
This is a general answer. You have your condition. What's the alternative? The alternative is that you're doing something that is intending to bait that condition.
Okay, fair.
Do you see what I mean
Like
by this?
someone's like standing.
You
out
astral
waiting
this
for
guy
LT.
with the intent to bait the Legion to blink onto you, but you've already blinked backwards.
Right.
That like, so you're either
I
going
blinked
with
the
your
totally
condition.
wrong direction.
Yeah, but the point is like, if you think about what's my condition for the fight, I have two options. Wait for that condition or bait the condition.
Yeah.
That's the two things I can do. But I know,
He's
but
probably
like,
not going to go in until he sees that astral used.
yeah,
Smart.
exactly. So that like you astraling here could be sick, is what I'm trying to say. Because if you astral and then blink instantly this way, you know, it could be sick because maybe Legion goes on you. But that's also bad if your Earth Spirit follows your astral by going, right? Because now you don't have astral.
Exactly.
So like the point is that like what we don't want, like your sign of misplaying is you getting dueled by Legion. Like that's your indicator that you misplayed, right? Before your Ags, of course.
Yeah. And there are definitely a few moments where I was not considering his map position.
Yeah, and the thing about the reason why the question is so powerful is because there's 10 heroes in this game. There's a bajillion things going on in the game. And if I ask myself, what's my condition to enter the fight, and what am I doing now? I'm looking at one fucking thing. Right? Like, that's it. And that's what these questions are trying to do. Like, how long am I staying on the creep wave? What's my condition to fight? Like, it's like, these are just there's like one answer to these questions. I mean, the answer shifts every time. But, you know, the thing is, when you ask yourself the condition for your fight, you could be thinking, you can go layers. I think the first layer of this is, first layer, me not dying at the start. Second layer, what combo of spells can occur that disables this condition. So like, you can say, hey, Silencer, I'm looking global if I go in. You know? Stuff like this. So like that's the second layer. It's like third layer. How exactly does a good fight play out for our team? List order of spells cast and targets they are cast on. Like these are like fun little thought experiments you can do after games, and then eventually you'll do them in games. But it's like, I'm just telling you, a 16k MMR player can answer that third question live subconsciously. Does that make sense? Right? Like they can be like, I know exactly what layer of spells, order they're going to be cast, when I'm going. You know? And that's what makes them so fucking good at the game. I have to do it consciously. But right now I'm not nearly as good at that kind of stuff. But yeah, for me, that's, you know, we're at about time. We've gone about an hour and 15 minutes. I would just ask if you have any final questions or thoughts from the coaching session that you would like to touch on.
I think you gave me a lot of good advice. I guess I would just like you to reiterate if you think I should really just like hone in on like the question asking mental aspect of my game and try and make these things like ingrained into my thoughts and habits while I'm playing.
I think my advice is that 95% of your mistakes, it's not because you don't know. there was like the one thing I showed you about creep aggroing into the things, but none of the things it's like you don't know these answers. So for me, when I hear that from a person, that indicates to me that yes, the mentality slash habit approach is by far the most impactful. For me, I think if you were to make an immediate question, like what would the first highest priority question be? It'd be how long am I going to show creep waves and what direction am I going to
Yeah.
run? I think those deaths are by like this team fight thing is more advanced in my opinion. It'll cost you less over across all your games because it's important, but you're also like a pretty good vibe player, so it's not going to hurt you as often.
Yeah.
So I would definitely start with the creep waves. I think the second most important thing would be when you're with your team and this whole idea of resetting. So getting yourself to snap out of it. I think those questions are the second most important. And then I'd say the third most important is probably honestly the people pleasing thing. How often am I making my own mistakes and how often am I trying to make plays that change the perspective of my teammates? But that's a long journey. I'm still on that one.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
But I would consider today myself a success if you minimized your creep wave deaths by like 50%. Like I think that's like 1,000 MMR already. Like those deaths are really costly.
I'm pretty good at like not entering shitty fights and not.
I feel like that's not as
cheating
big of a problem for you. I mentioned it
exactly.
here.
So if I can do that, that would be big. Yeah.
I agree with you that your fight decision making was on average much better than this decision making. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Any other thoughts or questions, Ben?
No, I mean I don't want to like give myself like too much. I think we've got like a good core set. I mean, if you have any other
No, I think this is for me. Yeah, I'm always on the same page as that. I don't want to give people too much because then it sends them off wondering what the fuck they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So
overstimulated.
I'll just say this. I'm just putting this at the bottom for you. That would be the order, but you don't have to stick to that. That's just the order I would recommend, which is waves, resetting, people pleasing, team fight condition.
I have a game specific question. Like, what do you think are in terms of like the draft composition, like the team matchups? What do you think like our win condition is, and like expected timing for that is? Because I ended up being I think I went like 14 and like 3 or 14 and 4. Like I was dominating them, and then I don't think we pushed the tempo enough, and we let like Tinker and LS get like an extra item or two, and I also the global silences weren't executed great, and I think like Pudge went in, he silenced too early, and then we lost like a couple of these, and they just like took megas and we lost. That's it.
I mean, I think your biggest issue is you guys are hitting buildings.
Before like clearing them out.
I mean, what I'm saying is your lineup just doesn't hit buildings.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so we need to not play our lineup the way it isn't designed. So I would be off map 95% of this game. I would be hunting people with my blink sheep. Like, I'd get these kills. You guys want to go? Like, for me, so like, what I'm asking myself is how often am I playing according to what our lineup does well? So like in this case, it's like, okay, I need my BKB. I'm going to farm my way back to base because I need to regen some health. I'm going to farm my way back. Okay, fine. You want to like participate in a kill on the way back? Sure. I'm going to like
that guy just presented himself.
yeah. And then, okay, you're actually staying on map. This is a little bit like risky, I think. Like, so here's like another case where I would have pushed top before doing any of this.
Yeah, you're right. No, well, I just think OD takes Roche so fast with Bloodlust.
So yeah, I don't mind the Roche. What I'm saying is like you take Roche and then you don't push a wave.
Yeah, we went top after, and then I think we started executing.
So like in this case, I'm gonna TP bottom and try to kill this guy.
Yeah.
Like what your build says to me is they're not allowed to fucking show. They should fucking die on every hero in the game.
Yeah, that's why I want this specific order. Like I usually would get like a pike, but I was like, I need to get Ags blank sheep as fast as possible because we have Ags for LC, and then I get like I'm not killing LS or Tinker without a sheep, probably.
Yeah, so the problem is you ran at this Legion. And what does your build tell me you're going to do?
Like sheep and kill them.
Okay. So what does your build not do? Hit towers, clear creep waves. So the only clear creep waves we clear are ones we have to clear. And the only towers we hit are when our job is not doable. Your job is to blink sheep and kill people. So I tried to kill that guy. TB bottom tried to kill this guy. Clear the wave. Walk and try to kill this guy. Then go through the jungle and kill a guy here. Like, what percentage of the game are you playing according to what your items tell me you're going to do? Does that make sense?
I think I was, and then I started like worrying and trying to take objectives, and it just did not pan out well. And we, as a team, like did not execute great.
Yeah, and what I'm basically trying to say is like that's gonna decide for you how well you played. Like, if you're panicking, it's
Playing to your
understandable.
strengths, pretty much.
Yeah, I understand the panic, but for me, in my experience, it's people saying because they win late game. That's what people will say to me in coaching sessions. And what I say is, what do your items and heroes say you're gonna do? Go do that. Stop worrying about who wins late game. Just play your hero. It's very difficult. Like, I'm not trying to be like, I know
we did it well for
what?
a while, and then I think we did it well for a while. Like Pudge and I were just like locking down, like blowing people up, and then we started to try and take objectives, and it kind of like got derailed.
Exactly. And the thing is, people think I need to end this game by getting objectives, but like the second you're doing something your hero doesn't do, it just sucks. Like, it doesn't matter what the in-game condition is. Like, yes, I understand buildings need to die, but like the condition for you guys to win with your lineup, in my opinion, is that they're sitting in base and you get a 40k net worth lead. So we need to get them in their fucking base. Like, that's how I look at this game. And you have the power to do that because you build good items. Like, I actually like the blink sheep. It's a good adjustment. You know? So now we just need you to play with the items you bought. None of this clears creep waves. None of this hits buildings. This hunts heroes relentlessly. So show me that you understand that and go hunt heroes relentlessly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, Dota's a very mental game. So, but like the solution is obvious. Getting there, not so obvious.
I think just having a Pudge carry kind of like threw me off. But he played well for the most part.
Yeah, the thing is that in my experience, there's just no better question than what does my hero and items say I'm going to do in this game? Anything else that we talk about, it's just not good. What carry do we have? What's our, like, how early do we have to end this game? In my opinion, it's all just a bunch of noise. If I just ask myself the question, what is my hero's job in this game? What do my abilities and items say I'm going to do? I just need to go do that. And that applies to 100% of games. That's the thing. Is Pudge carry specifically applies to this game. My question applies to every single game. And that's, for me, those are the ticket questions, are the ones that apply to every single game. And when we find ourselves reacting to things that do not apply to every single game, that's when we get in dangerous territory of like looping back and forth between making the same mistakes over and over again. Trust me, I know. Like, don't worry, I know. I do it too. Cool, man. We good to wrap it up there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I asked that. That was a really good point.
Yeah, sweet, man. It was a good way to finish it. I appreciate your time. Have a good one, dude.
Yeah, really appreciate your time too. Great chat with you.
Yeah, man. I
Thank you
enjoyed
for
it.
the advice.
See you later.
All right. Have a good one.
That's why Smurfs win most of their Smurf games. They think about what their hero can do and do it, right? I mean, like, I could win games before I knew how to do this. So I wouldn't, like, simplify it to just that. But I would rather the takeaway be that every time you think about shit that isn't what your hero can do, it's just not benefiting you. It's just not helping. If the question directly relates to what your hero can do and what your items say it will do, it's a good question. If it doesn't, then it's a bad question. Honestly, it's way more subconscious than conscious for me. It's like, what does my hero naturally want to do? The ideal would be that you can do this subconsciously. But if you're doing it inconsistently like he is, where he's like sometimes playing around his teammates to hit buildings because he's like panicking about late game, then it's not subconscious because there's things that are getting in the way of that. So you have to consciously remove those things and consciously do the thing that you know how to do. I mean, the Dr. K analogy I always use is his water. He's got like this water, his cup of knowledge. That cup of knowledge includes, I have a blink sheep and I know what to do with it. But then he takes a piss in that water, and that piss in the water is, when do we have to end this game? What's our hero matchups? What's our timing? Are we at the kit buildings? Like, that's just piss in the water. That now you've got a fucking piss water rather than just like a nice cup of water to drink from. And you don't fix it by putting more water in there, by putting more knowledge. You fix it by getting the piss out of there. So that's my favorite analogy. It works for me. Maybe it doesn't work for you guys. But yeah, we're gonna end the stream there.